Hello, friends. You have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy. No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risked their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has, when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our government was established to secure these rights and for the good that comes from exercising them well. This is why the founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire. Hillsdale College, pursuing truth and defending liberty since 1844.
Ready to learn some medieval combat, kiddo? You bet, Dad. Let's do this.
You know, spending quality time with your kids is important, but finding a fun and safe way to do it can really be a challenge. That's where Halberds come in. Halberds are the perfect way to bond with your kid while teaching them about history and physical fitness. Plus, they're a blast to play with. So next time you're looking for some family fun activity, grab a halberd and get ready to make some memories.
Come on, Dad. Round 2.
Halberds, bringing families together one medieval battle at a time. This commercial brought to you by the KLRNradio.com Ad Council.
Of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of He Said, She Said. I am one of your hosts for this evening, Aggie, and with me, as always, is the very awesome Rowdy Rick. How are you doing tonight?
I'm alive. I just caught a typo in our title, so I went in and tried to fix it quick.
I know. I saw it. I was like, maybe that's a new word. English is my second language, so sometimes the words escape me, but I was pretty sure that it's supposed to be axe.
Yeah, it was supposed to be axe. I was typing in a hurry and didn't hit it. Unfortunately, since it's already gone live, I don't think it'll fix it on the X feed, but I think it'll fix it for everything later.
Oh, that's fine. It's not a big deal. I just thought it was kind of funny, and I was like, I had been staring at it for I don't know how long, and I just noticed it like a little while ago. I was like, well, oh well, no big deal. Everybody is fluent in Taiwanese when it comes to the internet, so I'm not bothered by it.
Taiwanese is actually my 5th language, so.
But so it has been a very long day for some of us.
It's been a long couple of weeks still. I think that's why I'm so exhausted right now. I'm still just physically and mentally just done. Because it's like no matter what I do lately, I just cannot seem to. And it's weird because I got up this morning and I felt really good and I was like energized for the show. And then after I did the 3-hour show, I went and made lunch. And then the next thing I know, it's like 5 o'clock. And I'm like, I have like 16 other things I really should be doing right now. And then I turned on a Kevin James comedy special instead. So, yeah.
I spent the entire day running errands in Tyler, which is like an hour and 15 minutes from me. So I didn't get home till like 5, and I was pretty tired. It was a glorious morning. Don't get me wrong. It was like 62, 63 degrees outside. It was so nice. But, this is Texas. That means it's going to last about 30, 35 minutes before once the sun's over the yarn arm, it's hot. So, but I was running errands all day, and it just, I got home and I completely forgot to post this. And I knew there was something missing but I didn't know what I was missing. I don't know what because I don't know. I completely spaced out. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it happens. Oh, but I mean, you forgot your post. I had a typo. We'll live.
But the day is winding down, and now we can relax and we can talk about nice and fun things.
Yes, we should and we shall.
Yes. So today we decided to talk about random acts of kindness, and I know that we've done this on the show when I was still hosting with Mickey. We did something similar, and I want to say it was like maybe 2021. So it's been a while since we covered that. And as of late, there has been a lot of bad stuff happening around the world and everything. But every so often, our faith in humanity is restored, and so we wanted to bring that to the front because it has been a long week for a lot of people, and it's kind of nice to talk about the good things that we see out there.
Well, my faith in humanity was restored once I saw somebody getting indicted. Oh wait, sorry, not the right, not the right show for that. I apologize. But, yeah.
Well, some faith is being restored in other circles too, so it's okay. But I'm still guarded. I'm just gonna wait and see what happens with that situation.
Oh no,
I count my chickens.
I still have no illusions anything's going to happen to him whatsoever. I'm just happy we've at least pulled the trigger and gotten him indicted instead of just going, I think we can do anyway.
The most delicious thing about that whole situation, and yes, we're going to cover politics right now because this is delicious, is how the media is reacting to it as if, this is like unprecedented and historic and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, well, and my favorite part is how they're saying that this administration is exacting vengeance. But they don't stop to think why that term is very telling. Vengeance for what? What happened to make this administration vengeful? Can you care to explain? So to me, that has been the best part of the whole thing.
Well, there's two things with that, because one, that's something that keeps coming up all over the place. It's like he's weaponizing it, it's revenge, and I'm like, revenge for what? Revenge for what? What is it revenge for? But then the other thing that I saw today, which I thought was absolutely hilarious, and this was one of the political talking heads on one of the communist networks, was talking about how Donald Trump isn't rigging the system, he's re-rigging the system for himself. And I'm like, so wait, in order for him to be re-rigging the system wouldn't that mean the system was already rigged against him? Wouldn't it?
But I remember when that came out in 2015 during the debate with Hillary Clinton. And she's accusing him of using the bending the tax laws or whatever it was, and he's like, well, yeah, and if you had anything to say about it, why didn't you fix it? You were in the Senate. It's like, oh my God, I'm watching a king being actually crowned right now.
Right? He's like, and he just looks at her and says, if you're not using the tax code to your advantage, that makes you an idiot.
Yeah.
But
I think it was Dave Chappelle that summed it up for Saturday Night Live, and he was like, God damn. But I mean, it's true. He was like pointing it out. Everybody does it. And the reason it doesn't get fixed is because your friends are using it. So don't get mad at me for using it too.
And that's the thing, right? That's what annoys me about all of this, if I'm being honest, because now that they've lost the working class and everything else, the left is still trying to act like the Republicans are the party of all the rich people. That's all I've heard all week. Oh my God, Donald Trump is trying to shut down the government because he doesn't want to fix your healthcare. No, Donald Trump is willing to let the government shut down if it comes to that because you guys are trying to hold it hostage for $1.4 trillion worth of crap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I believe every time there's a government shutdown, the stuff that they say, oh, nothing's going to get paid, is always paid.
Right.
The Medicare, Social Security, none of that is ever shut down. And I'm like, I've literally watched my parents get their checks during a government shutdown. I just don't understand why people get so. And it's amazing to me. I remember the first time a government shutdown that I witnessed as an adult was in '95, and it was around my birthday, November, and I was really upset about it because I was in a national park. And because the government was shutting down, that meant that the park rangers could not help us or do anything. They were leaving. So if we wanted to see the park, we had to do it in the next 90 minutes. And then we couldn't access the park anymore. And I'm like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever had to deal with. And it was, during the height of the Monica scandal, they had to do something, blah, 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 detraction of some sort. But I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever had to deal with in my entire life. But, you see people going all insane over the whole government shutdown. I'm like, I want the government shutdown. I don't want the government doing anything. Everything they do destroys everything else. So just shut it down. I'm okay with that.
Well, I mean, so riddle me this, because this is something, and I asked Brad the same question today. So since you didn't get a chance to listen, I'm going to see if you get a chance. I'm going to give you a chance to weigh in. Can somebody explain to me why it is that we have a federal government that handles things that are considered non-essential services in the first place? Shouldn't our government only handle the essential stuff?
That was the original intent. I mean, that's what Coolidge said, right? That just leave it alone. We just take care of the little things. Everything, the states do their own thing. I mean, that was the whole experiment of this country. Nobody, not even
handle the essential.
Huh?
No, sorry. I was trying to get into the chat and it wasn't muted.
Oh, I've alluded to this before. Mexico is technically, the name of Mexico is United States of Mexico. And the reason that they're called that is that they fashioned the first constitution after ours. And it went well for 10 years until, what's his name? Santa Anna, I think it was.
Yeah.
Decided on a centralized government and convinced everybody to vote for it. And the constitution went away. And this has been a mess for Mexico since then. But that's the original intent, was those states in Mexico were going to operate the same way that the states up here do. It was supposed to be like a mirror image of the United States. And they were learning as we were learning. So whatever we as states were doing, the states would follow suit over in Mexico. It was for those 10 years, it really worked. So that was what was supposed to happen. And now it's like this behemoth Leviathan has taken over, where the federal government actually controls all the minutiae, and they're not supposed to.
Well, that's just it, because they were never supposed to, but now that they do, they have figured out that they have so many fingers and so many different pies and so many different leverages and points of control that now they don't want to give them up. And all they ever do anytime somebody tries to start exposing what it is that they have done to this government we used to call a republic, because trust me, after the passage of the 17th, we're not nearly as much of a republic anymore. Nobody really wants to talk about that either. But
the 17th needs to go.
What they do though is they use fear every single time, like what they're doing right now. Your medical premiums are going to go through the roof if you're on the ACA, because some stuff that we passed that was only supposed to be in place during COVID is about to expire, and the Republicans don't want to renew it, and that's what we're pushing for this money for. Well, if it was only supposed to be in place for COVID, why is it going to cause everybody's premiums to go up by so much? And if the Affordable Care Act, without these subsidies, is doing the exact opposite of what it was supposed to do, based on its name, not what we all know secretly you guys wanted it to do, maybe it's time to get rid of it. And there's a Senate critter who made that point the other day, and now all the Democrats are quote tweeting and quote posting him and say, "See, he wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act." Well, according to you, if we don't keep subsidizing it, it's not going to be affordable anymore anyway. So what's the point?
Sometimes I just shake my head. But, I see other places in the world and I'm like, I'm still grateful to be where I'm at.
I tried shaking my head once. It was in the middle of a class, and there was this loud rattling noise, and the teacher asked me to leave. So I stopped doing that.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, thank you, Orty. He put in some more information about the United States of Mexico. So let me see. Moving back to the original intent of the chat, tonight's topic. I am grateful to be here as compared to other places in the world, like what's happening over in Great Britain. But we won't get into that right now. So, yeah, there have been some instances that we have witnessed of late that have actually restored faith in humanity, at least for some of us. And I wanted to actually put that forward, talk about some of the nice things that we have seen lately, some of the nice things that we ourselves have decided to do as a consequence of the happenings of this month. So without further ado, let's move into that kind of talk and the nice stuff.
All right. So since it was your idea, you start.
Well, I was talking to you about this. One of the things that I did witness today is I'm always heartened when I see people doing little things that they don't know are being witnessed, And for example, in town, there's, the little lending libraries, those little things where you put books and everything. But we have a couple of those that are food oriented, food barns, food pantries and everything. And so we had one, now we have two. And every so often, I see people, drive up and, they'll just, and they were just at the grocery store where I was at, and they're buying some stuff. And I see that they're buying like multiples of one thing, multiples of another. But most of the stuff that they buy is singly, so it's probably a person that lives by themselves or, or just with another person or whatever. And they'll stop and then they'll put everything that they bought doubles for in the pantry, and then they'll just get back in the vehicle and drive off and everything. And it's kind of nice to see that because we don't have a food bank in the town that I live in. The nearest one is about 30 miles away. So it's a little inconvenient for a lot of folks, especially the ones that live in assisted living and the older generation that live in town. So it's kind of nice to see those little food banks and everything. And because of that, I was incentivized to actually speak at my church and ask if we can coordinate with other churches in the area to have food drives once a month. And then that way, instead of having once a month food drive at just one church, we could all sponsor it one weekend. So my church would be, in charge of the second weekend. Another church would be in charge of the first weekend. Two other churches would be in charge of the third. Yet another one be in charge of the last weekend. So that every weekend there was a continual, and that way we would be supplying dry goods and produce throughout the month instead of just once a month at one location outside of town. So now I brought that up at my church, and one of the deacons at my church said, that we were thinking about doing something like that, but we're not sure how it would be received by other churches. And I was like, y'all don't talk to the other churches? I don't understand. Well, no, they don't, because my church is a very, very small church. There are not a lot of Catholics in this town. So my church is rather tiny. Meanwhile, the other Grace Fellowship is like huge and everything. And so they don't talk a lot amongst themselves because they see each other, in town, but they don't discuss church stuff because they just figure why, I guess, for that reason. But so now they're incentivized to actually start organizing something of that manner so that there's a continual, like a moving food bank, so to speak, in town.
Oh, that's cool.
That way, and that way it's under the purview of the churches. It relies solely on charity of those, of the parishioners of each church. And we don't have to, have a charter, with the government, I guess, the ones that establish the food bank. So that's one of the things that that we all got together and said, we need to fix that problem. And it was really nice to see that people had been thinking about that. I just thought it was kind of weird that they don't talk to each other. And I'm just saying, I'm not saying just the Catholics and the Protestants. I'm talking about all of the other Protestants too, because the Methodists have no clue what the Episcopalians are doing either. And the Presbyterians in town have no idea that there's two other churches. The Episcopalians are literally 3 blocks down. They didn't know the church was there. So
you know why? You know why?
Why?
I mean, I can't really say anything about Catholics, but I know for Protestants, the only real denomination is whatever denomination you're in. The rest of them are all okay.
I guess. I don't. I was just like, how do you not talk to each other? I mean, in my hometown, all the churches are always talking to each other. And as a matter of fact, they coordinate for Easter Sunday, so that if people want to go to more than one service at different churches, they can. So it's like, okay. But I think that was kind of nice that, I brought that up, but other people have been thinking about it. And now people are really excited about starting to coordinate that and getting that set so that, people can come and do the food drops. And if they miss one, they can go to another church and drop the food there, or, whatever, whichever one is closer to them. I'm actually closer to the Methodist church than I am to the Catholic church. So depending on, if I decide, hey, I probably won't be able to bring it in on this Saturday for my Catholic church, I can just drop it off that Saturday over at the Methodist church since it's closer. So it doesn't have to be at the church that I'm attending. So that's kind of one of the nice things that I have seen. A lot of people have been talking about doing more for their faith. And this is a level where you're helping your fellow man who needs, someone who does need help, a hand up of some sort. And, the whole concept, we're not in a food desert, but it does make it difficult for some people to actually be able to even go to the grocery store. There are times when they can't do it. So aside that, establishing that rotation is kind of nice. And then we're going to talk about actually taking prepared sets of, boxed sets of food. So for the week, like several cans of this vegetable and that vegetable, and maybe several cans of some kind of protein and, that kind of thing. And take that instead to people who cannot, like a Meals on Wheels program, but, with canned food. So, things like that have been, I'm glad to see that in this area, we're starting to pick up. We're starting to actually, I've witnessed more people attending church in the past couple of weeks, and not just on Sunday. I've seen the uptick in my Catholic church, which, like I said, it's small, but I've seen people that were like, I haven't been to church in a few years, and I want to start coming back. Okay, and I saw,
So during the time that you were telling us all that stuff, did you shift positions or something? Because you've had a little bit of static tonight, and I wasn't really that worried about it, but now it's like I'm getting you on channel 43 UHF or something.
I don't think so. I didn't do anything. How's it now?
Are you using your normal microphone?
Yeah.
Make sure it's pointed to that microphone.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, the last time it sounded this bad was when your mom came into the room and you turned around really, really quick, and we had static for like 5 minutes while you were talking to your mom. Now it's like that all the time, though. So I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. Should I? Okay, I'm just gonna shut up now.
Well, no, I was just thinking maybe if you could, if it depending on how it's connected, you might just need to jiggle the cord or something. Might fix it. I don't know.
I don't know.
But there we go. Whatever you did, hold your tongue just like that. Don't move it.
Okay. All righty. That's fixed. Yay.
Yay. Okay. Yeah. It wasn't that bad. So I really wasn't going to worry about it because I know how you get stressed out about technical stuff. But then as you went on earlier, it was just getting worse and worse.
Okay.
And worse and worse. And eventually even Danielle said, and not for nothing, but I'm old and I'm having to squint to listen. I'm like, okay, man.
Okay, I gotta remember that one. Thank you, Danielle.
Oh, but no. So yeah, I mean, earlier when you were saying it's weird that churches don't talk in the new town versus how they talked in your old town. It's just in my experience, like Baptists don't like Presbyterians, and Presbyterians don't like Baptists, and Episcopalian don't like Presbyterians, and everybody that isn't one thinks the Pentecostals are nuts, and the Pentecostals think everybody else is the devil, and the non-denominational are just like, anybody want to get high after church?
I don't get it. I really don't. I always thought that it was normal. But I think one of the reasons that most churches around here don't talk to each other is just like they just assume that things are going well in whatever church, and we're doing our own thing. And the fact that they're kind of, they're not all in the same area, with the exception of the Episcopalian Church and the Presbyterian, which are, like I said, just a few blocks down from each other, but they didn't know that each of them were there, I guess. I don't know. But, the Methodist is literally 10 miles out of town. There is a Jehovah's Witness place, but that's actually on the town over. So that's a full 30 minutes from where I live, which is 10 minutes from in town. So, people have to travel quite a bit. There's another Methodist church. There's like 2 or 3 Methodist churches in town. And there's, the Baptist one. Then there's the non-denominational Grace. And then there's Reformed, which I'm not sure which Reformed they're talking about. It just says the Reformed Church. So there's, we are in the Bible Belt, so there's quite a few churches. Even in this tiny town, there's quite a few churches.
Oh, dude. So the town that's just about 3 miles north of me. Yeah, sorry, I had to figure it out. Which is where my youngest son graduated from, and where my granddaughter goes to school. They're a town of approximately, at last count, less than 600 people, and they have 5 churches. 5.
What?
I was like, what? Yeah, that's what I said. They've got the Baptist church. They've got the Church of Christ. And then there's a couple of non-denominational churches on the edge of town. And then there's the one that's like right down the street from where, like a mile from me. And then there's another one that's in the next town up. That's the Goldsby Church that almost everybody that doesn't go to the 4 or 5 churches that are in the small town goes to, is either the one that I go to that's a mile to the east of me. East, or the one that's like another 3 miles north of that smaller town. So yeah, in the span of about maybe 10 miles as the crow flies, there are like 7 churches, and they're about to build another one within the same span. There was a block next to the Walmart that was just auctioned off, and they just put the sign up the other day, new home of Grace Coventry Mission or something. And I'm like, oh great, another church. That's
another church.
Yeah, we need more churches around here. We need more churches around here. But But no, I
Oh,
mean, but yeah, I mean, and trust me, I mean, the churches do a lot of good, so I'm not. It's not that. I mean, our church, which honestly, we were going to the one that was further north for a while, but then Gracie kind of got a little burned out with it, and we weren't going for a while, so we went back and tried the one that's about a mile east of us. And we went there when we first moved here, but that was over like 10 years ago, and nobody really liked it, so we kept looking for another church, and that's how we wound up helping to found Wake Church. And then it went away during COVID because it was based out of Norman, and Norman was one of the last towns to try to get anything back to normal. So it just eventually kind of blew up, just kind of dried up and went away. So, but then we went back to this one about, I guess it's been almost a year ago at this point, and Gracie absolutely loves it. So that's where we've been going ever since. But they have a pretty good outreach program, and they do lots of things to help people. And, you know, that's kind of
and
my.
I think it's nice that it's a revival that we're witnessing, really, when it comes to the Christian faith after the Charlie Kirk assassination. But it is affecting the different denominations in my area to the point where they're actually starting to talk to each other, starting to communicate better with each other and cooperate better with each other. As you know, yeah, sure, they're a single entity. This church, is this one denomination. That's fine. But they're also recognizing that this other church may need help, so let's help them out, that kind of thing. So it was kind of nice to see that has been going on. And, it's not a little thing. It's going to be a big undertaking, and it's going to take a bit of coordination and, quite a bit of, committee meetings, and getting together with the other churches to coordinate everything to where this happens, continually every month. But, it's a step in the right direction. And it is getting people to talk to each other. It is getting people to actually, recognize, oh, so, yeah, you go to this church, how is it? All this. And it's nice to see. It used to be that it was, I don't know. When I lived in Houston, that was another weird thing. The church that I attended was on Church Street because there were 5 churches there that had been founded on that particular road. So it was called Church Street. Excuse me, not Houston, College Station. And it was really strange, but none of the churches ever did anything with each other. They were right there, like next, one after the other. And none of them ever did anything with each other. And I always thought that was kind of strange, especially in a college town where you have a lot of college kids that are attending church and everything. But I just thought, well, maybe they're just too busy. No, it's just that they don't really talk to each other. But I think this revival has actually incentivized a lot of churches to start talking to each other, and starting to reach out and help other churches and, be there for churches that are either failing or have had issues with the roof or, replacing this or that, so.
Well,
That's been kind of nice to see. Just that little random act of kindness to actually start thinking about, hey, let's establish a mobile food bank, or a roving food bank or something, so that we can help the people in town and they don't have to go 30, 40 miles out of their way in order, and that food bank is only open twice a week, the one that's, 30 miles away. So this would actually be a little better for them.
Well, so one of the things that's been driving me a little bit nuts, right, is ever since this has happened, you've got a lot of folks that have been like, oh, it's a revival. This has been awesome. And then you've got some folks that I call the modern day Sadducees and Pharisees that are, this isn't a revival. I don't know why everybody's calling this a revival. And I've been talking to these people for a week now. I'm like, what do you call it when 200,000 people are gathered together and you're hearing the leaders of your government talk about how Jesus has touched their lives? You've got hundreds of thousands of people in person and hundreds of millions of people all around the world singing along with songs that they know that have scripture from stanza to bridge. And you're telling me that this isn't a revival? What about this isn't a revival? But let me say this, and this is why I tell it. And I had the funny thing is, the reason when you said you wanted to do this today, this was your topic. This is some of the stuff that I was talking about this morning, because I have people that give me a hard time all the time because of how often I will do random acts of kindness, and sometimes big acts of kindness, even for people that they don't feel like deserve them. I'm like, it doesn't matter what their motivation is. Matters what my motivation is. And this is, I got in, I don't want to say a knockdown drag out because I was civil, but it was with another pastor that I know. And I finally said, look, I don't think you and I are worshiping the same God in this scenario, because even if you're saying Charlie Kirk wasn't one of his, you're telling me your God isn't strong enough to take something that may have been started for the wrong reason, in your opinion, and turning it to his good? Because if so, then I don't think you and I are worshiping the same one. I got blocked.
Wow. I've had the weirdest, admittedly, this has nothing to do with our subject tonight, but I've seen the weirdest stuff from trad Catholics. And I'm like, no, I don't trust anybody that has trad Catholic in their handle or their bio or whatever. To me, that's just no. And I will denounce it right now, because as already said, yeah, you know, if you're going in, you're going all in with Catholicism, but that doesn't mean that you're going to issue or denounce any other Christian denomination. I mean, if that were true, why would Cardinal Dolan actually just literally say that Charlie Kirk was like St. Paul? I mean, like,
yeah, well,
what?
yeah,
we don't think that you guys are wrong. We're just doing it different. That's all.
right? But I mean, there were like some people that were like visibly, like shakingly mad over him saying that, and I'm like, what about this person who basically just stood up and tried to get people to talk has you so angry that you can't see him for who he was? Because but the thing about it is, and this has been happening on my own feed. Like, there was somebody that I'd followed for a while, and she hadn't come across my feed in a while. So she showed up on a post the other day about, and I guess it was an article talking about something to do with the White House, and she had posted, so did they finally get rid of the geriatric what's what? I don't even remember exactly what she said now. That was in there, and I'm like, yeah, we did that in November. Just trying to be funny. Dude, she was on my feed for days, calling me all kinds of names because I was a Trump voter, telling me that I was a demon sprouting scripture because I was a Trump voter. And I'm just like, this is the problem, because we now have people who think they are bathing themselves in faith, and they don't even know what it means to have faith. Because I guarantee you, none of these people that are mad all the time, that are throwing fits all the time, that are screaming and yelling all the time, would know anything about a random act of kindness unless it was done for them. Because I guarantee you, they don't do them.
It's sad. It really is. But there have been some times when I've actually done something nice, and it still gets spit on because who they perceive me to be. And you know, sometimes you have to, like, let that go. You're not going to change their mind or whatever. You still perform the act of kindness, but after that, you're like, I need to remove the vileness from my life, and so you step back. You know, I will say that for me, the assassination of Charlie Kirk was a very, very solid line and a hard Rubicon. And I don't think people understand to what point that was, what that was like for me, because I will say it, I will forgive anything of anyone. but I'm not forgetting shit. I never forget shit. I'm not even sorry for that. And that's a problem that I have. I get it. But it has made me wise, just like Charlie said. You can forgive, but don't forget. The wise person doesn't forget. And I haven't. But there comes a time where like I cannot put myself in a position where I have to constantly forgive the person because they already know that that is something that is bad. So I have to remove myself from that situation. In a way, that's an act of kindness. You're removing yourself from a situation where you're not putting yourself in a position to get abuse and have and forgive the person over and over and over. That kind of abuse is detrimental to the state of your soul and the state of your mind. So removing yourself is an act of kindness. I like to think so.
Well, I mean, for me, when and this goes back to something I was talking about earlier today. And when I was saying, when I do things for people, I do my best to try to not think about it as me doing it because it's me, but doing it because, we're supposed to be the hands and feet. And that's kind of the mindset that I try to have. I don't have that all the time. There are people that annoy the crap out of me all the time when I'm trying to help them. And there are people that, and I know you know this because we've talked. But I still every time I start trying to get frustrated, what I always come back to is Luke 6:38. And that's what I always try to hold in my mind, because it doesn't matter what their motivation was. It doesn't matter that they may not appreciate it. It doesn't the way that I expect them to appreciate it. It doesn't matter that they may never say anything. It doesn't matter that they may even talk bad about it later. It only matters that I did exactly what I was supposed to do, which is to be the hands and feet. And it's weird, and it's been a hard thing because, I have been living a life more of faith in the last couple of years because I don't have a steady income anymore. I have a couple of checks that come in from retirement, but I don't have like guaranteed money other than that coming in. So, and with everything being in flux, there are months when I have a little bit extra at the end. There are months when I don't have enough. Oddly enough, there always seems to be something that makes the ends meet. And I think it's because I've been trying to live with that verse as much as possible for the last few years. That's just my take on it. But that's why I do the things that I do. It's why I help people that I help. It's why there are times when people will call me up last minute and be like, can you help me do this? And it's something that I would normally charge for. And I'm like, yeah, I got you. And they're like, well, I can't afford to pay you right now. I'm like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I've been on the end of that too. And on the other end, but yeah. And I'm blessed that I can actually be on the don't worry about it end. Because there were so many people that helped me when I was, just starting out with a brand new job and didn't have much. I didn't even have a car. I had to walk to work, and it was like an hour and a half to walk to work. And, so I'm very grateful for those that did help me. And I've actually paid it forward and paid it back to those. And it's funny because one of them was my very best friend from college. So when her son went to college, I funded his first semester so that he would have the time to actually make enough money so he could have a buffer for his second semester and keep going. And she was like, I can't believe you did that. It's like, well, first of all, you did a lot for me. And second of all, this gives him a little buffer so that he can work and set money aside and all that stuff. So what does he do? He doesn't like college. So he gets out of college, goes to trade school, and now owns his own company. And I'm like, nice. That's my boy.
Nice.
Yeah. And he bought a house. He's got, he actually, he loves to work on cars as well. So he has a collection now. He's like on his fourth vintage vehicle.
Oh,
he's been fixing up. And I'm like, all right, buddy. You've proven right. Okay.
Nice. So in the same vein of kind of what we're talking about today, and something that came up when Laura sat in with Stephen the other day, they were talking about faith, and somehow Matthew 7:1 came up. And Stephen made an excellent point because that's the verse where everybody likes to stop is, don't judge or you're going to be judged, basically. They leave off the other part because even in the NIV translation, if you add in verse 2, it's do not judge or you too will be judged. And then it says, for in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. The reason I bring that up is because when I was rereading our Luke 6:38 a second ago, I noticed Jesus used the same language.
Mm-hmm.
So give and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over, shall men give into your bosom. For with the same measure that you meet withal, it shall be measured to you again. So both in giving and judgment, the amount you put in is basically what you're going to get back. I find it interesting that those two things are kind of bookended together like that.
Well, I always, and this was me from my readings and my understanding, the whole judge not lest you be judged is always used against us. But the thing is, I've always felt in my faith, as a follower of Jesus, that we are supposed to judge because we are supposed to call out evil when we see it. And we have to judge that. We're called to do so. And, and as I always tell people, I'm like, a good follower in Christianity of Jesus Christ and everything, we're warriors for God. We really, we fight for that. And I was explaining that to a friend of mine on the Book of Faces. And she was like, no, we're not supposed to judge anyone. And I'm like, actually, yeah, we are. We are supposed to be judging because we are supposed to call out evil whenever we see it. And she says, well, how do you know if it's evil? And I'm like, that's the rub, isn't it? We have to know. We have to educate ourselves on what is evil and what is not. And that's where the scriptures come in. That's, all that stuff. But she was adamant that, we are going to be judged by our Creator. And I'm like, yeah, eventually we're all going to be judged. This is true. But while we're down here, we have to denounce the evil that we see.
Even Paul commanded, the other churches to hold one another to standards. There's like an entire book of the Bible where he's ripping a church apart because they weren't holding one another to standards. That is judgment. So the idea, and this is again one of the things that drives me crazy about what I call granola Christianity. It's what everybody else calls social Christianity because they've made Jesus some white hippie freak who
I know.
Just wants to cross his legs, eat granola, and sing Kumbaya. That was never who he was. Never who he was. And that's not what he teaches. And let me tell you something. While we're talking about acts of kindness, let me tell you what one of the best acts of kindness you can ever give somebody is when you're watching them do something that you know is going to eventually kill them. If you try to tell them about it, no matter how they're going to react to it, no matter how mad they're going to be at you in the short term. And you know how I know? Because I watched it play out with my oldest son. Because eventually I had to look my oldest son in the eye and say, look, I have done everything for you that I can. And I have been here for you and I have tried to help you. And I've even allowed your mom to help you even more than I wanted because you're my son and I love you. But you're killing yourself. So you're going to have to figure it out. And I point blank told him that. And he hated me for over a year. Didn't talk to me. Didn't want to call me. Nothing. You know what he told me during the divorce? I know you're not really my dad, but you're always going to be my dad, and you saved my life.
Wow. That's a kindness.
But that's just it. Sometimes things that are kindnesses, the world doesn't see them that way.
No, they don't. I mean, and like I said, that's why, all I do is I watch people. Everybody thinks that is kind of weird. I'm a people watcher. I have literally gone to parks, sat on a bench, and pretended to like feed pigeons, like throw things to feed pigeons or whatever.
Next time they say you're weird, just tell them you're a recovering anthropologist. They'll understand.
Well, but that's how my teacher trained us to do this. Is like go to a park, sit down, and just watch people as they go by. Just watch what they do. Watch how they communicate with each other. Watch their mannerisms. Watch this. Watch that. And I got you. That was part of our class, And I enjoyed it a lot. So I do that. I sometimes will go into town. I'll visit my friend at the antique store or whatever. And there's some benches outside. And I'll go outside and I'll just sit and I'll just watch people because a lot of people just walk up and down Main Street. It's a very small town. And I will be watching. And it is, for me, it's kind of gratifying to watch people and see how they conduct themselves with each other. And I witness all sorts of little kindnesses. There's this one of my favorite people in town. His name is Frank, and unfortunately, he has terminal cancer. But he doesn't slow down. He goes to town every day. He comes in and he'll talk to anybody and everything. And I was in town about 3 weeks ago, and I happened to sit outside. And here he comes, and he sits beside me on the, and everything. And he starts telling me all about his day and what he did, and I was like, I've only been here for 30 minutes. I'm already tired, because he had already told me all of the stuff that he had done that morning. He walked into town. He lives about 2 miles from the grocery store. So he walked to the grocery store. He bought his food for the day. And this is one of the sad things. He buys food per day because he doesn't know when he's going to pass away. So he doesn't want to leave a big mess for his daughter to clean up. And it's heartbreaking, but he's very pragmatic about it. And he says it keeps me active, And when I was down there, this little old lady, he is ancient, but he called her little old lady. It's like she was having trouble getting her car door open. So I just jiggled the handle and managed to open that for her. And I helped her sit in it. And he's telling me all of these little things that he does for people while he's out and about. And he does these little kindnesses all the time. And that gives me hope. That's like it's restorative to the soul to hear somebody just telling me about their entire day. And it's like, Frank, you make me tired just listening to everything that you do in one morning. And he was like, oh, I'm not done with my day. And he gets up and he starts walking up, and going somewhere else or whatever. And, and it's kind of nice to see. You see people opening doors for others. When I'm at the grocery store, there's a lady who was having trouble walking. Somebody ran up to her and said, "Don't move. I'm gonna go get the little cart, the driving cart, the little thing that she can sit in so she can do her shopping." And he went and got it for her so that she wouldn't have to walk the rest of the way. That's a little kindness, and one of the most beautiful things here, everybody says hello to me. No matter where I'm at, people will just say hi and open doors and, reach, and they see if I'm trying to, because I'm short, I'm reaching for something on the top shelf, they'll come and they'll help me. No questions asked or whatever. And they will make small talk. Things like that are they're kindnesses that a lot of people in bigger cities, you don't see a lot of. And I think maybe it's because people are in a hurry. Maybe it's because people are, they're just, I don't know what it is about a bigger city that prevents people from actually smiling at someone as they're walking by, but it's really strange. So it's kind of nice to see it happening in a small town.
Yeah. But I try to stay out of the big cities now as much as possible. I mean, not that we really have big cities here. We don't. I mean, land size we do. And that's That's one of the things that we're going through here is Oklahoma City is larger than Los Angeles in landmass, but so many less people. And now they're trying to turn Oklahoma City into Los Angeles because they're like there should be more bike paths and walking trails, and like it was never designed to be that. This is the land of Route 66. Come on.
That's true. That's true. And it was really funny because I was, like I said, I was in Tyler all day today, and Tyler has over 100,000 people, but yet people still open doors and people smiled and said hello and howdy, and and I'm not talking about just older people. I'm talking about teenagers, and
Yeah.
this was so cool to see. This was so cool to see today. I was shopping I was at a thrift store, of course. But there's this young man who is outside and he's got a skateboard and he's got his earbuds on or whatever. And he's by the door. And as I'm walking up there, he looks up and sees me and immediately opens the door for me. And he couldn't have been more than 16. And at first I was like, what the hell are you doing out of school? But oh yeah, today was actually in service. So yeah, okay, I get it. And he opened the door. And I said, thank you. It's like, and he just said, you're welcome. And then closed the door and went back to his phone or whatever. I think he was doing his playlist or I don't know. But when we came out, he was still there. And I opened the door and I looked and I was like, oh, hi. And he's like, oh, let me get that. And he held the door for me. And I was like, thank you. And it was surprising to me because you'd been told that the younger generation just doesn't have any manners. They're very self-involved, blah, 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 blah. But here was this young man and he was very cognizant and very sweet to open the door for obviously somebody that was much older than he was. So that was so nice, and it made me feel good the rest of the day.
And it should. And again, that's one of that's one of the things I think that we've gotten away from, because for me, sometimes when I decide to do something nice, like I will still do this sometimes if I'm in town. Like if I'm getting something from a drive-thru or something, I'll pay for my stuff and then be like, okay, how much is the ticket behind me? And they'll tell me, okay, go ahead and put that on mine queue. And it's especially if I'm having a not very good day, it changes my mindset. So even for me, something as simple as opening a door for somebody can change my mindset. And the reaction that I get when I do it in a smaller town versus when I do in a city is astounding to me. Because
it really is.
Even here in Oklahoma, like if I'm in Oklahoma City, which has become a blue bastion, unfortunately, if I open the door what are you doing that for? I don't need you to open the door for me. I didn't do it because I thought you needed me to do it. I did it because I was trying to be, and I don't even say it anymore, but I did it first. I was like, I did it because I was trying to be nice, but don't let it hit you where the good Lord split you.
Do you remember the salon cons?
The who?
The salon had a list of conservatives that you should follow, and it was a lot of the Buckley Club people.
Oh God, I remember that. Yeah.
Do you remember them? We call them the salon cons. And Tim, I'm pretty sure you might remember Tim.
Vaguely.
But Tim he was holier than thou. I always thought his heart was in the right place, but whatever. But he was a Buckley Club member, and thus we were not pure enough. Right. Yeah. So, but one time while he was still talking to the rest of us before he left social media, he asked the questions like, what is one of the nicest things you've done today? And I just typed in and I was like, well, I paid the groceries for the lady that was in front of me. And he's like, are you serious? I was like, absolutely. I'm very serious. I did that. Why? What's wrong? At first I thought that he was offended or he found it offensive or something. And I was like, why are you upset? And he says, I can't believe that somebody would do that. I'm like, this is not the first time I do it. And I wasn't paying a $250 grocery bill. I mean, the lady was only getting like, I think it was like right under $40 or something like that. And she was having trouble. She was going to be paying in cash and she was older and she was like counting. I said, ma'am, please allow me. And I paid for it right then and there. And she was like, I can't let you do that. And I was like, yes, you can, because all I'm asking for you is to pay it forward to somebody else when you have the chance. And that works for me. And he freaked out that I had actually done something like that. And I was like, and in DM, he actually asked me, it's like, you said that you've done that before? I was like, yeah, several times. At the time, I was living in, near San Antonio. And, sometimes there's a lot of people who are older in the area that I'm living in. And sometimes it's difficult for them to, juggle their finances, and they live, paycheck to paycheck, or, they're on Social Security or whatever, for whatever reason. And sometimes I happen to be there at the right time. It wasn't a big bill, but it made her feel like she was special. And that made me feel special because she really appreciated it. And I am sure that she paid it forward. She was a really nice older lady. And what made me upset was the fact that Tim thought it was unusual. And I was like, I don't want to be in a world where this is unusual. I want to be in a world where this is a daily thing for most people. This is why a random act of kindness, no matter how small, is always appreciated. If it's not appreciated, it's usually due to the fact that some people are so self-absorbed that they question everything. And that's also sad. Like you said, it's like, why are you opening the door for me? I'm like, because, it's a nice thing to do. They're not used to having nice things done for them. I really don't understand, why that would be such an issue. But, I remember that interaction and it really unsettled me because he really did not understand. But he was supposed to be the pure conservative. He was the one that was supposed to uphold the Christian value of conservatism. And yet he could not understand how I could do something like that. And that bothered me. And that's when I started realizing, oh, these people they're all talk. That's what ended up happening. They were all talk. And some of them went over to the Lincoln Project and some of them left social media completely.
And went to the dark side.
Yeah. So I was, see, Orty remembers the salon cons.
Yeah, I just don't ever remember hearing them called that, I don't think.
I need to find that salon piece because we laughed about that. And this was around the time that the Misfits were forming. And, they were complaining that they were stealing the Misfits from another person. And the other person was like, I don't care. I don't use it anymore. I don't know. They just went apeshit over that. Hey, we have a G sighting in the chat.
Oh my word. We have a G in the chat? Really?
Yes. He's asking about what are acts of kindness.
Hey, I fixed it everywhere that I could, jerk.
But, that.
Hey, if a typo gets you in our chat room, I'll do it more often. How you like me now?
But yeah, I was really.
G, all the women are asking to see your abs while you're here.
That I don't need to see his abs. That's living rent free in my head.
Hey, he's coming and giving me crap, so I'm gonna bust right back.
Yeah, the salon cons, that was man, that was trippy. That was quite a while back, but that was trippy. I gotta say.
I knew who they were as soon as you said they're the Buckley Club. I just don't think I think that may have been right before I started being invited into some of the groups where that was going on, because I had heard them called other names, but never the salon cons.
No, I was never in any of the groups that they were in. So that's great. I DM'd with a couple of them, but that was it. And usually it had to do with, believe it or not, they wanted to know what Sam was saying because Sam had a couple of them blocked.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, I am not a snitch, but I would tell them, well, she's talking about this particular political thing that's going on, so that's all I would say. But yeah, they would hit me up asking what Sam was talking about. And I'm like, okay, no, you can hit up one of your friends.
Right?
I'm not a snitch, but she's just talking about regular politics, if you must know.
Well, that is one thing about, I guess, the new way that they block stuff is at least you can see the stuff. You just can't interact with it anymore. I don't know if I like that better or worse, though.
I have found so many people that have me blocked in my on my main account that I didn't know had me blocked because I've never seen them before. There were a couple that I used to interact a lot with back in 2016, 2017, and now they have me blocked. And I have no idea why, because all our interactions were just fun stuff. Most of the people that have me blocked I'm either on a list somewhere or they just don't like getting a good morning tweet. I don't know. I have no idea. I because we have a lot of mutuals. And so I don't understand why I would be blocked when almost everybody in our groups follows this person and they follow back, but I'm blocked. So I don't know. I don't know what I did. But
yeah, I'm not sure.
Hey, I'm always like I said, hey, I'm proud of you for using that block button. You have decided that I do not fit in your life, and you have taken steps to make sure that I am not in that circle. And I'm very proud of you because you have made that decision. You've removed what you don't like out of your life so that you can be happier. That's fine. I'm okay with that. And then, I tweeted something along those lines in the other account, and somebody asked me, who blocked you? I said, oh, I cannot keep track, honestly, but I'm very proud of each and every single person that goes ahead and does it. And they couldn't understand what I was meaning. And I had to explain to some of them, it's like, because they took the initiative, they don't like what they're seeing with me, they don't like the interactions with me, or they don't like the good morning tweets or whatever it is, or my snarkiness or whatever I post politically on some politician's feed. They don't want it. They don't want to see it. They want to remove me from that so that they can be happier in their life. Fine. That's great. We're always talking about removing toxic stuff from our lives. I'm not going to pretend I'm not toxic to somebody. I have to be toxic to somebody by virtue of just being human. So, I'm very, when somebody blocks me, I'm like, well, good for you. You took initiative. You decided to do something about it, and that's good. I'm glad that you're observing your mental health. Good for you. I'm happy about that. I do not take offense when people block me. I do wonder why they do it. And I've asked people, hey, if you feel the need to block me, let me know real quick. And then do it. Because the curiosity is going to kill me.
Nice.
I just need that little bit of telenovela. I need that in my life before you leave. That's all I ask. Be that kind. Be that kind.
Yeah, I just, the one thing is, it's not really that it bothers me or anything, but I wish, because you know how X will tell you when people follow you? I wish X would tell you when people unfollow you, so you go unfollow them if you chose to.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that they don't. You would have thought that they, I mean, with all of these little tweaks that Musk was saying he was doing, especially the block feature, the taking away the like feature, all that stuff. And I'm like, can you just let me know when somebody unfollows me so I can
Yeah,
do
so that
do the same kindness?
so that way, if I don't want to follow them anymore, I don't have to. It would be nice. But yeah, no, I just thought of that today because I don't know. I guess I did something to piss people off about halfway through the week because I lost like 40 or 50, and I'm like, what the hell? What was that about?
I think a lot of I don't think that you upset people. I think what happened was that people, you had your own red line, your own Rubicon, and there were a lot of people who lost a lot of followers because standing for faith, standing for what was right, and holding up the mirror to the true evil that was perpetrated, and that some people decided to cut ties, and so I can understand that, because for the first time in my life, I cut ties with people that I'm related to because of what happened with Charlie Kirk. That took a lot. So you can imagine how bad it was for me to take that step, because I don't unfollow, I don't unfriend very easily. It has to be something really grave to get me to that point. And it was not kind. There was no kindness, there was no charity, there was no there was no reach for peace that was coming from that quarter. And I said, do I need to have that in my life for the rest of my time on earth? No, I don't. I can love them, but I don't have to tolerate that coming from them. So I took that step, and thankfully nobody's noticed.
Dun, dun.
because you know me, I don't do a lot of stuff over there at the Book of Faces. Every so often, I mean, I think the last thing I did was share your status. That was the
Yeah.
last thing that I did. But I don't do a lot of stuff. I check on everybody else and everything. I check to see what telenovelas are going on, that kind of thing. But so yeah, they haven't noticed, and that's fine. Sadly, 2 of them have birthdays today. So
They'll probably figure it out by tomorrow.
I am sure that they will be asking, hey, she
What
didn't wish me a
happened?
happy birthday. What's going on? What do you mean she doesn't follow me? And I'm like, what do you mean she unfriended me? What? I'm that's gonna happen this weekend. I will give you a full report on Tuesday during the cocktail lounge if something happens.
See,
I promise.
I'm being sneaky about it. I've just been muting them for 30 days so they don't realize that I'm not talking to them anymore while I decide what I'm doing next.
Oh, Danielle, honey, I am so tired of people correcting the memes that I post. They're not even my memes, okay? My memes are, I actually put Aggie Rican on my memes so that people recognize that I actually came up with that meme.
Yeah.
But they correct my meme. I was like, oh my God, it was supposed to be a joke, not a dick. Don't take it so hard. I refuse to say that. I cannot type that, but I can say it's nice. So anyway, back to kindness.
That's all right. So what I will do for you at some point over this weekend, I will find this part of the show and I will cut it into an audio block that I will send to you, so then you can just post it to everyone anytime you want.
That would be hilarious. Yeah, but I'll find you, Danielle. So anyway, but I mean, they're, like I said, performing a random act of kindness to a stranger is not only something that I view as being beautiful, but it's, like I said, it's restorative. It makes you feel good too. It makes you happier. It gives you a certain feeling of satisfaction of having achieved something, and it actually incentivizes you to do more. And for me, it has been rather eye-opening. One of the things that my church has been, because it is small, sometimes they don't meet their monthly tithing for the fixing of the roof, replacing of the window, the cleaning of. There's a lot of wood paneling inside that church, so that needs constant attention. Those kind of little things, and so I have been trying to figure out a way to not just keep up with my tithing, which is separate, but I wanted to do some form of charity to where the church would actually receive that monetary donation. And I figured out what to do. I had this epiphany a couple of weeks ago. I have a lot of furniture that I like to redo, restore, or fix, or whatever. And I was going to sell it at a store, with my friend, but I don't have the time. And I lost what with my dad. My dad's passing and everything that's been going on with my mom and having to deal with the estate and the house, and now the house in Puerto Rico. My mom wants me to go to Puerto Rico, and I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't want to see my crazy family. But
don't make me go.
But so I was trying to figure out, I just don't have. I have the time to do this, but I don't have the time to actually run a little booth or anything like that. So I was laying in bed, and I was like, I'm going to talk to my friend, see if I can just start putting pieces there with tags that say this is, for charity, all proceeds go to charity or whatever, and make them not cost prohibitive, but, enough that I can get a little money to the church. And I talked to my friend about that. She's like, that sounds like a fabulous idea. I know exactly where we can put them. And she showed me that there's an area that she used to have a table for certain things. And she's like, I have this empty spot. I'll just, start bringing in your stuff and we'll put it here. And we'll put a little sign and everything, and we'll see how it goes. And so that's another thing that I'm putting forward, and that was as a result of getting together and starting this whole thing with the food bank, the mobile food bank, or whatever you want to call it. And seeing that, the church every month is pretty much a little bit in the red.
Yeah.
And, and admittedly, the other churches do, shift money so that they can compensate. But, you kind of want your church to be in the black on their own. So, I'm hoping that this helps. I haven't talked to anybody at the church, but I figured once it gets started, I can then go ahead and just start taking the money in and whatever, and they can deal with that. I don't want to deal with it. I want them to deal with it. And and I had thought, hey, why don't we do several churches around here, every so often they'll have a trunk sale where people just bring the stuff in their cars and they just put it, they go to the parking lot and you sell your stuff out of your car. Well, my church doesn't even have a parking lot, y'all.
Oh boy. Well, I can't say much. The church we've been going to until like a month, it had a gravel lot that was a parking lot. They actually finally put in a parking lot like about a month ago.
Catholics do tithe. We do tithe. It's just that our church is so small, but and the building is so old that it does need a lot of fixing, and so the tithes are not enough. That's all that's going on right now. I'm actually going to be volunteering to clean the wood paneling because I have all of the material here at home, and I can just go, 2 or 3 times a week to start, restoring the paneling and all that stuff. And, and it's not like the wood paneling from the 70s. This is actual nice wood paneling. It's really pretty. But, I was looking at it going, it's a little dry. I was talking to one of the deacons about the food thing. It's like, how do you clean this? And he's like, well, somebody comes in with a duster and all that stuff. I said, you need to like condition the wood, right? And he says, yeah, but nobody nobody does that. I'm like, you know what? I'll just volunteer. It'll give me something to do.
Somebody's gonna do it now. But all right, so so I have to share this because it's just how my brain works. So you said epiphany a second ago. This scene goes through my head every time anybody says the word epiphany. Has ever since I've seen the movie, and I wish I could make it stop. But now I have to share the pain.
I've just had an apostrophe. I think you mean an epiphany. Lightning. It's just struck my brain.
Every time. Every time. That line goes through my head anytime anybody says the word epiphany. It doesn't matter if they say it out loud. That line goes through my head every single time.
Bob Hoskins was a treasure. He died way too young, in my opinion. But I found an apostrophe.
I've actually tried to make that joke before and people don't get it. And then I have to go find the scene. And I'm like, come on, man.
I was just discussing that Hook was a fabulous film. And Brad was talking about how, no, it wasn't. And I'm like, I will die on that hill.
Dude, it was a very underappreciated film, in my opinion. I thought it was great. But I think for me, part of it is I had just become a dad when that movie came out. So my kids were still really small. So I was relating so much with what was going on with Robin Williams' character because that was when I was trying to build everything up and trying to find my way in the world and make sure my kids had money and that we had money. And so, yeah, it was I related to that movie in so many ways. And to me, it was just always an underappreciated movie. But then again, almost everything Robin Williams put out in its own way was a masterpiece. I think I've only seen one of his movies that I was kind of like, eh. And that's the one where he played the bad guy. I can't even remember the name of it. And it's not that it wasn't a good movie. Him being a bad guy, my brain just could not wrap itself.
Was that one 1 hour photo?
Yeah, 1 hour photo. Yeah. And it's not that it was a bad movie. It was a good movie. I just could not, he's not anybody that I ever wanted to see as a bad guy. My brain short circuited. I couldn't do it. But,
I haven't. I tried watching it. I couldn't do it. I was like, no. Especially after having read Red Dragon, I couldn't do that one. So I've never seen it, but I heard he did a really good job as a bad guy.
Oh, well, I think that's part of why I didn't like it so much. He played a really good bad guy, and I'm like, this shouldn't be possible. For one.
Oh man! Oh goodness! We're almost at the top of the hour.
Yep, we are.
Holy cow!
We've already done 90 minutes. Pretty close. So I do have one thing that I want to say today. I never thought I would get so much crap after being kind of snarky on a post asking what's preventing you from visiting London. Yeah, apparently some people didn't like my responses.
What?
Yeah, a couple of foreigners. One of them that I thought was funny was, "You're a Yank, mate. You've never even seen bacon." I'm like, dude, we have actual bacon.
Yeah, I answered that one. What's stopping you from visiting London? I said, a yearning to be free. That was my. Right. Nobody touched that one. They couldn't. They literally just had a guy. He was talking about how. I know this has nothing to do with random acts of kindness, but he was talking about how the cops broke into his house at 2:00 in the morning, taking him into custody because of a post that he made on social media. Basically, F Islam, F Muslims, whatever. F Hamas, F Islam, I think it was, on his post. And they took him in and he was cuffed and he was processed and all that stuff. And even one of the cops was saying, yeah, you're not going to be here very long. So it was just an intimidation tactic.
Yeah, it's just to get him to stop posting.
Yeah. And I'm like, nothing would incentivize me to go to that country at this point in time. Nothing. I'm looking at Germany, and there's a Rex posted this. German bookstore actually said no Jews allowed in a German bookstore. And I'm like, this is what happens when you don't teach your history, because then you're doomed to repeat it. And this is true. They don't teach about what happened between the years of 1930 and 1945 unless you go to gymnasium, which is their version of the last 2 years of high school. So most people graduate in 9th grade with a diploma, and they're not taught that. They know what happened, but they don't know what happened. They don't know how it came about. So, and now history is starting to just repeat itself.
Well, as far as the guy who got his house broken into, I bet he's wishing he had this set of bobbies trying to get in there. Watch this.
What in the world?
This goes on for 2 minutes. Sean posted this earlier today, and I was dying.
You have got to be joking. There's literally a window next door.
It's like, if this is what policing in England has come to, it's no wonder you guys have been conquered. What I love is further down in the post, somebody took a further out shot, and apparently there's a guy standing on a balcony watching them do this, and everybody's like, is this his door that they're trying to kick in?
Hey, we have a Calvin sighting.
Yeah, apparently he took a nap, so he joined us a little late.
Well, I need a Moz update.
Dude, that actually would be, that's a good idea. I'm gonna find that. I'm gonna mix that probably Sunday sometime.
Do Benny Hill music?
Yep, I'm gonna remix the video and throw Benny Hill music behind it and put it out all over the place.
Oh, he was a treasure. Oh goodness. Well, I don't know. Did you want to keep going, or do we have stuff after this? I don't even know the schedule anymore.
We really don't have anything going on after. If you want to keep going for a little bit, I don't really care.
Well, no, I mean, like I said, I told you before the show, there was this lady came in and she was bringing books to the VA hospital. And they have like a little shelf area, like, for people to read magazines and everything in the waiting area. But across on the other end, there's a little seating area so that, and another shelf with books. And so she came in and she dropped off some magazines, and then she goes all the way over there and she put some books. And I was curious, and I went over there to see what books she had. And it was funny because all of the books there were Westerns, there was military sci-fi, historical books, and true, autobiographies. I was like, there's no romance, there's no comedy. It's like this very guy-oriented. But it was the VA, and most of the people at the VA just happened to be of the male persuasion, right? So that was pretty funny. But it was sweet that she was actually stocking, books, and these were books that people who come to the VA can take with them. You can take one, leave one, that kind of like a lending library, but this was for the VA. And I did not know this, but later on I was, one of the receptionist that was there, was helping another gentleman or something. And I way later and I said, can anybody bring books, to drop off? Because Lord knows I have a plethora of books that I can drop off and anytime that I'm at the VA. And she's like, oh yes, it's, people can take whatever they want and leave, and people come and leave whatever they want. And, it seems to be working really nice. We've had it up for about 3 months now. And now I was like, okay, so I'm going to clear out my books and take them over there. And no, I'm not going to put any romances. I'm not going to put any, but comedy, yes, but no romance. The
No,
romance I'll keep.
no. You got to put at least one bodice ripper in there now. Come on. You just made
Okay,
a big
I have a couple of Fabio books.
deal about how there were no romance novels, and now you're like, no, I'm not. No. You got to put at least one bodice ripper in there.
Okay, I have a couple of I have a couple of Fabio books I could definitely take, but that is a little kindness that a lot of people don't tend to see. Those lending the concept of the lending library was phenomenal. I love that almost every park I've been to, several areas that you don't expect to see would you believe there's a lending library in the cemetery? I saw it. I was like, I blew my mind. I'm like, okay, in a way, this would make sense if I were in Puerto Rico or in Europe. In Puerto Rico, we do have, it's not a habit, but we kind of do it anyway. My aunt died when she was 4 years old, my mother's youngest sister. And so my mother and her sisters usually go up to the graveside and they clean it up, they repaint it and everything. And then they sit around and they talk about what they've done for that year or, since the last time that they were there. And, they talk to her and everything. And sometimes they'll actually take food and we'll have picnic and everything. And I don't think that that's done here, but I remember going with my German friend to her dad's. And we would take a picnic and we would sit right there where his grave was. And we would eat and she would talk to him. And then I would, I would talk to her and then she would translate for him. And it was actually very endearing and everything. So for me, a lending library in a cemetery actually makes sense because you take the book, you go to whoever you're visiting, and then you can read to them. And it makes sense in my head. But the first time that I saw it, I had to adjust because I did not expect the lending library to be at a cemetery. But it makes sense to me, But that concept of the lending library, I think it's awesome. And I think it's really cool, especially if you go to playgrounds and see that there are lending libraries there with kids' books. And if you go to larger parks and you'll see lending libraries for everybody. And if you go to the lending library that there's 4 here in town that I've seen, and one is next to the food pantry, and there's another one that's next to the Veterans of Foreign Wars, and there's one that's next to the hospital, and another one is next to the library, which okay. But so depending on where it's located, you'll have different types of books. And that to me is a kindness that has actually expanded and has taken over. And I see it in other countries too. It's not just here. So a lot of people don't see it as a kindness, but considering that reading is so important, and you want to actually incentivize people to actually keep doing it, I think it is a kindness. I think it's a beautiful kindness that people have been passing on.
Yeah. So, and I know this is not necessarily tied to the topic, but since we have started talking about lending libraries and stuff, how did the guy who actually created the entire show concept of Reading Rainbow turn into such a douche? What the hell happened to LeVar Burton? I don't get it. That dude was,
he was so great, and he actually, an entire generation grew up with Reading Rainbow and how important it was to read. And I think the fact that it was no longer on the air actually did a lot of damage, honestly, because kids just thought, oh, well, so it's no longer cool. And I'm like, no, it's always been cool to read, but I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know.
Well, The reason I asked is because if a show like Reading Rainbow was still around, this might not have happened. I have to talk about this. I just saw this, so hang on.
So let me get this straight. Ice Cube's tour bus got firebombed in Portland, Oregon. So you're telling me the left is so stupid? The ice on Ice Cube meant ice like immigration customs.
Oh no!
Oh yes.
Are you serious?
Yes. I just checked the source. It did actually happen. Yes. They torched Ice Cube's bus.
Because they thought the ice was ice, like
Yes.
immigration customs enforcement. Oh my gosh.
Yes. So,
That's not a kindness.
I don't know. Maybe. Well, the kindness is maybe LeVar Burton should bring Reading Rainbow back so the next generation doesn't make that mistake.
Wow. I'm really surprised that Reading Rainbow didn't keep going past LeVar Burton, like with another host. Like they did Blue's Clues, Blue's Clues kept going.
Yeah, I mean, Blue's Clues.
Steve graduated, went to college.
I haven't looked in a while, but I know it was going up until just a couple of years ago. Still, it's more on like YouTube and stuff now, but it has like newer episodes. But it's just, I don't know. I thought of that, and then I saw that clip, and I was like, hey, I can tie this back into a kindness. Somebody needs to revive Reading Rainbow so kids know the difference between.
That would be really cool if they could bring back Reading Rainbow. That would be nice. That would be great.
I mean, come on. In some ways, even Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood kept going because now there's the Daniel Tiger thing that's more of a cartoon-oriented thing, but it's still, for the same age group. Sesame Street's been around for forever. They could have found a way to keep reading. I think by then, I think Barton's pride had already gotten to him because I think even though we hadn't seen it yet, he was always really haughty. Like when he went in to read for his part in Roots, it was supposed to be more of a stereotypical role. And he basically just put the script down and just refused to say a word until somebody came to talk to him about it. And he's like, this is not how I'm going to do this part. Now, for that, it worked because it turned in, because I was little, but I remember my parents watching that movie and I was running in and out with my friends and I stopped because my parents were just bawling. And I'm like, what the heck is going on in here? And yeah, it's because
I don't remember it. I had to watch it when I was older and available on video. But then it came out that Alex Haley actually fabricated a lot of it, and that was hard because this was supposed to be. I mean, this was supposed to be like a pillar for the people who didn't have a history, and to find that he had fabricated it was really difficult. He still got a pass from those same people because Alex Haley was, of course, just like them, but the fact remained that he did a disservice. He really did. The other thing that I found interesting was the first time that I watched it, I was in I think I was in high school. The second time I watched it, it was my senior year in college. And I'm watching it from an anthropological point of view. And I'm going, these people don't even belong together. Because there's certain facial characteristics that go for each tribe in Africa. And I'm like, yeah, this person would not be in that tribe. This person would not be in this tribe. This person wouldn't even be married to this guy. It was so distracting for me that I had to give up halfway through and say, no, I just want to remember the way it was. But yeah, it was really hard to take when I found out, when it came out that Alex Haley had fabricated most of it. And that was pretty sad.
Okay, so I found another funny while I was scrolling around real quick. I don't know if they're going to be able to read it, but basically it's a screen grab from the Georgia game, and it's Jake Fromm on there, and right next to that is State Farm, so it's Jake
from State Farm. That's epic. Oh my goodness! So Anyway, I guess we should wrap up. So we should, I did want to point out there is a kindness that I really like that I have seen, and it came from you, my friend, your new show. That is a kindness that is deeply needed today. And thank you, because I look forward to listening, whenever you figure out what time slot you want to put it in. But
It'll be on Sunday night.
yay, that'll be fun.
It'll be the closing act from now on. I'll come on after Al.
Awesome. I look forward to that. And if I can't catch it live, I'll catch it the following day. But
Yeah, I'm even considering maybe doing instead of because that I'm thinking about moving Rails just to strictly on Mondays because I've been not doing so good with Rails because I usually do it on Wednesdays, and I'm thinking about doing the new one on for sure every Sunday, and then maybe doing it every other Sunday since Inquiry is kind of the same genre kind of show. It might fit that way. We can do church on Wednesdays and Sundays.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That works. All right. Well, I guess we should wrap it up. Right. So tell us where we can find you.
Well, you won't find me tomorrow. I'll be off performing a wedding, but you can find me Sunday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, doing the show that just went up on the screen, Kingdom and Country. It's our newest offering here, and it's kind of something that I've been feeling like I should have been doing all along, but much like the folks that were telling Charlie Kirk in the beginning of his career that you really can't mix the two, I listened to the same people and kind of shied away from it. Never really realized that he started. Because, I was off building my own stuff, so he wasn't really anybody that I paid attention to that much. We ran in some of the same circles, but, we connected a couple times here and there, messaged back and forth on, X a few times back when it was Twitter. And I was honestly surprised to find when I went to go look him up the other day right after his passing that he was still following me. I was like, that dude got really big to still be following along with me. That's kind of cool. But yeah, so that was kind of where this one was born from. So it'll be again for sure for now every Sunday night 10 p.m. Eastern. It'll be the closing act for our Sunday night programming. Well, except for because I think if I'm home in time, I'm gonna run BZ tomorrow night. He's actually about to start a show in about 45 minutes. So I think I think I'll be home from the wedding about the time that Ken and Barbie are done. So I think I'll fire up BZ if I can get back in time because he's doing a show tonight. I was like, I don't want to stay up till midnight. I got to get up early, so we'll do that tomorrow. I have a wedding to get ready for, and those things make me nervous. It's weird because all the stuff that I do, where I talk in front of people, and the radio shows, and everything else that I do, and I go do a wedding, and I get nervous. What the heck? But anyway, so that's where I'll be tomorrow, and then make sure you guys come back on Sunday. You can find me at RowdyRick73. You can follow along with us here at KLRN Radio on X, on YouTube, on Rumble, and on Facebook. And I also occasionally been working on trying to get that done more often, but lately I just have had nothing in the tank again. Contribute to twitchy.com, misfitspolitics.com, and I also produce the Loftus Party podcast, which drops on Tuesdays. As if I didn't already have enough to do, but what are you going to do? All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much.
Wait.
What? Did I forget to do you? I did forget to do you. Yeah, my fault. See, usually I have you go first, so I don't forget this.
That's okay. Y'all know where you can find me. Aggie the Barkeep for now. And
I got excited a second ago because you were talking about your original account again. I thought maybe you figured out how to get back into it.
Nope,
I'm like,
not yet. I've been emailing, but have yet to hear from X support. So
I don't think they exist anymore. I think they've turned it over to AI.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to get my thing red flagged so that a live person will actually help me get my account back. So it's the only thing I can do at this moment. But you can find me at Aggie the Barkeep. And you can find me 8:30 p.m. Eastern Tuesday nights doing the Cocktail Lounge, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Friday nights doing He Said, She Said with you. And the second Wednesday of every month, the guys get together for Toxic Masculinity at 8 p.m. And Jeff and I now do the first Monday of every month. We do Spirited Books, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. There's a pattern there.
All right. One last plug. Don't forget, starting in October, we will have cryptids everywhere. Juxtaposition will be every Saturday night in October and then the first Saturday night in November as well. So we'll have 5 weeks of it. And since we are going to be talking cryptids in Juxtaposition, usually what happens is in October, everybody gets together and figures out ways that they can cross-promote stuff. So I know Aggie and Jeff are working on that for Spirited Books. There's a couple other folks. I know they're starting to talk about whether we're going to do any type of a Halloween play in the play group that we do. And I found a shorter one that might work that AI could stretch out, but it doesn't involve as many people. So it may be easier to pull off on a Halloween schedule. So I'm going to, once I get back into having credits on GPT again, I'm going to have GPT finish it, then shoot it over to Jeff and be like, if you want to do it, great. If not, that's cool too. Because I don't know. The play was really fun the last time we did one, and it had been a minute, and he actually did a really good job with it. So I want to try to get back into that again. But that's going to do it for us for tonight. You guys enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for part of it. And please make sure you are back here tomorrow night supporting Daniel and Laura as they. Whoops!
Guess what?
Wrong button. They produce their own show without a net for the first time, because I won't be here to help make sure it doesn't. So just
they'll do great.
It could be fun either way. So come hang out one way or the other. Bye.
Thanks for joining us. Bye bye.